With greatness. Absolutely with silky smooth operator Chris over here.
We love it. That probably is me daily, so.
We walk by his office and we just see him looking in the mirror. Hey. Yeah.
How you doing?
How you doing? How you doing? Yeah, that's how I feel when I PowerShell. That's how I feel.
Most parents will catch their kids singing and listen to their song and having the microphone, and your parents just saw you doing PowerShell stuff.
All right.
Well, we got the 10 commandlets today.
Yes, we do.
Boy, that was hard for you to come down just to 10.
Oh, man, impossible. In fact, I'm going to preface this by saying 10-ish commandlets because I may have some bonus ones thrown in that aren't counted towards
Chris's list is just type in git command.
Yeah,
commands.
You'll see them all.
Yeah.
Git command.
You could hear both you and Jordan just the disturbance in the force you felt with these guys trying to come up with.
And narrow this down to 10.
Yeah, but I did solicit a lot of help from those who speak PowerShell around the office, saying, "Well, what are some that really helped you, or what are some that you used a lot?" And so we've come down this list or so of 10, and so we just kind of want to dive in because 10 is a very, very large amount to cover in 30 minutes or so.
Let's do it.
So jumping right in. So those of you who have used command line WMIC, want to get information from the WMI, you might be familiar with WMIC. Mm-hmm. I've used it. I'm sure you've used it.
The command line query, yeah.
Yep, for WMI. PowerShell has the equivalent that was introduced early on called WMI-Object, which has then been deprecated in place of what's called CIM, which is actually WMI is CIM for Windows, but essentially,
WMI is Windows implementation of the CIM model.
There we go. There's the accurate statement. So what we want to do is actually, if we want to get some information from WMI, and it can be anything because there are tons of classes and groups of data in WMI that we could get. Mm-hmm. In this case, we'll show you the old way, get WMI object for Win32 computer system. We get some cool information. I think it's cool anyway. If you wanted more information, we'll see this commandlet later, but select object, all of them. Wow, 2 commandlets so quick. We can actually see all the different properties that are available here and get all the information that's stored in that particular class for this instance. So if I wanted to know what is available, here's one of the commandlets that I'm not covering, but you should check out earlier webcasts on Get Member to actually find more information on it, and you can find and do fun stuff with this, select individual properties by their name.
But this is important if you're running pre-3 of PowerShell. You want to show the what Microsoft is preferring that you use with CIM instance?
Absolutely. So the new one is get CIM instance, at least the equivalent here to query that. And so we'll do the same thing. Win32, and I think I did computer system. Mm-hmm. And get that same information. You might notice the layout's a little bit different. That's because the WMI provider that they use in PowerShell, they're trying to make it a little more standardized with returning data to make it a little bit easier for you guys and faster.
Let's do operating system real quick. That's a very, very popular one.
Absolutely. Operating. Oh, what if I didn't know how to spell operating system? Cool thing about CIM instance versus WMI.
What if you were Lex?
This is the Lex-proof way of doing stuff. Ha! Jab. If I do control space, or tab in this case, it's going to finish it. I hit backspace at that point. Because the CIM commandlets, one of the things that the developers of PowerShell actually took as a bug earlier on from WMI-Object was I can't tab complete stuff. I can't do autofill stuff.
And there's so many different properties that you can traverse.
Yes.
Let's do it.
So in this case, if I wanted to know what's available, I could actually do win32_o, hit control space, and there's all the different classes that are available for that specifically. It's amazing. So
let's show the operating system just real quick, and we can move on.
Right there.
Yeah.
We can actually, again, select object, all of those, and get all the same properties we saw before, but again, it's a little bit faster, it's a bit cleaner, so, there we go.
Yep, we're trying to resize this, folks. Sorry about that. Okay.
Yeah.
So the CIM instance, if you're using, number one, if you don't have at least version 3, you need to upgrade. You can use PDQ deploy to deploy the latest PowerShell. Do at least 5 or 5.1.
Yes, please.
Out, especially Windows 7, 8.1, and of course the Windows 10. That's what you want to do. Let's utilize, especially 3, folks. Chris said there's just nothing like the jump from PowerShell 2 to 3 and feature-wise. It's a complete overhaul.
It fixes so many bugs in addition to the features as well. So anyway, since we have a lot of commands, we're just going to move onward.
Yep, let's do
So
it.
next one I want to cover is get child item. This is true for any provider. We touched on this in the pre-show a little bit, but you can use this for your file system. You can use this for the registry, for whatever you want. This actually lists the contents of a directory. So get child item. If I want to know what's in the C users directory, I can see all the different directories that are available right there. If I wanted to do anything with them, actually traverse down deep within them, I can use the recurse parameter and actually go recursively list all of them, which, look at all the data, too much. So don't want to do that because that's a lot. And I'm going to hit break here. Maybe it'll actually catch up with me in a moment here. There we go.
You were trying to recurse through one of the most populated parent directories users,
which is fun. So, but say we did want to do that. Say we actually did want to do that, and we actually wanted to add a filter there, and we actually wanted to know all the EXCs that were there. If I did that, we could list all of them. That very few. Wow. That is, let me reset on that a bit. There we go. Let's, actually, not very many. Look at all that.
Now, you can use child item on the registry as well, right?
Yep.
Want to hurry and just show a quick example of that?
Child item. So the registry, which is also itself a provider, you can see what's listed, and I can show you that in a sec here. But just know that by default, the HKey local machine and current user are also created as a drive for you. So I can do HKey LM right there and actually just peruse it as
software.
A drive.
I would do software. Yeah.
Yep.
The red there, that's saying that we cannot see inside of the SAM.
Yeah, I can't see that. That's okay. That's understood. But if I want to see inside the software, for example, see all it's there. It's going to list the keys as well as any under there that's already available, the key value pairs. So we can see that. It's fantastic. The same way you would browse that, just like a file system. So a lot of people use this in their scripts because you need to list, find, search, recursively filter, all the stuff. Say I wanted to know specific, just the file name. So let's go here to the users directory of where we did the filter with the exe. If I wanted to know just the path or the full name to the file, I could do select object full name and get all the full name, path, file, everything for those that it
Love
finds.
it. Absolutely love it.
It's fantastic. Select object is one of those ones that everybody who uses PowerShell uses because there are so many properties available to these objects. PowerShell being an object-oriented scripting language here, there's just so much that you actually just need to filter down. Otherwise, you get just loads of data, which might be too much.
So pipeline, the select object.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep. I can even get cool stuff like last write time. There you go. That's when it was last written to. Awesome.
And each of these values here represents also an object that you can do further manipulation with or extraction, etc.
Yep. So it's pretty fantastic. So we just covered, I think, CIM, WMI, get child item, select object. So what if we want to actually filter a little bit more? Let's do where object. So let's go back a little bit on this one. We want to know where the...
Think of like your query. This is for the SQL heads out there. Okay, now you want to do conditionals.
Yes.
I know I've got this information here, but I want to look for only those that meet certain criteria.
Yes.
That's where the where object comes in.
So in this case, I want to know everything where there's this exe, these binary files that are larger than 1 megabyte. So in the pipeline, when you're actually using that pipe character moving stuff along, that's the results one object at a time. When you're referencing that current object, you use the $_ or the $PS item placeholders. $PS item is only available in PowerShell 3 or later, so I'm using $_ here. And then length is the actual size of the file in bytes, I believe. So I'm actually just going to say where length is greater than, using common operators, and you can see what's available by doing dash control spacebar. But in any case, I'm using greater than. And cool thing about PowerShell is that it kind of knows what you're talking about in many cases. So I want to know greater than 1 megabyte, and instead of doing the math to know how many bytes is that, I can just say 1 MB.
So you don't have to do all the math that you're used to saying, okay, I know this is coming out in bytes, and now I'm going to do a division and 1024 by 1024 by 1024, and here we are in gigabytes.
Yep. So here we go. And then I can, again, select same thing I wanted before, full name, and get just those ones.
And select is an alias for select object that you were doing earlier.
Thank you. I'm glad you called these out, because this is the stuff that as you get familiar with PowerShell, you're just going to do shorthand all the time. So.
JJ's saying, Shane, your damn hat.
There we go.
And everything. There we go.
And my
Actually, my hat doesn't quite hit
it's Chris's just
that quaff you call hair.
It's PowerShell blue hair. It's great. So, all right. So that's kind of how you use WhereObject, and you can use it. So remember how we showed you using getMember to see the different properties, or you could select star to see all the different properties that are available or what the actual data inside them is. WhereObject, you can then do filters on those. So I could do the same thing with multiple. Say I wanted to know the length is greater than 1 megabyte, but I also want it and the length is less than 1 gigabyte. I could do the same thing. So all these are between 1 megabyte and 1 gigabyte in size, which might not seem helpful on the surface, but everyone in your environment probably has a use case where you want to know, oh, I need files that are larger than this, or smaller than this, or older than that, or newer than that. So there's a lot of use cases for these particular filters.
Absolutely.
This is why I wanted to get this one early on, is WhereObject is probably one of, if not my most used commandlet in any of my scripts, because data needs to be qualified, needs to be filtered, needs to actually be filtered down to what you need to use.
Absolutely.
And then acted upon, right? So it's powerful. So speaking of acting upon, next one, ForEach-Object.
Number 5.
Yeah, good.
Number 5.
Hopefully we're on track for 10-ish here. So
We're doing all right.
ForEach-Object. This is one of the many constructs in PowerShell to loop through different objects. This one's typically used in the pipeline. And so what I'm going to show is kind of a twofer. I'm going to show copy item with this. So let's say we wanted to know all those EXEs.
We're returning a bunch of objects here, so now we want to iterate through each of them.
Yes. And so let's actually do, let's say, WhereObject, all this greater than, less than, gigabyte, 1 over greater than 1 megabyte, fun stuff. Let's say for each one of these objects, we're going to do this script block, this bunch of code. And in the ISC, I'll actually pop this up in the ISC in a sec here. You can do multiple lines, or you can separate them here on the console with a semicolon. So here, say we just wanted to know, let's say we wanted to copy, I think I said we wanted to copy item here. Copy item, we're going to use the full name that we got returned from that object in the pipeline. We're going to copy that guy to another directory. I don't have a directory, let's find one, let's make one. On the fly, yay, let's do stuff.
Let's do it, you can do it. Okay, let's do a subdirectory in temp.
Temp, works. All my files. One word.
It's a new soap opera.
It is. All my files. It's like all my circuits in Futurama, but that's beside the point. Beside the point. So let's say I want to copy it there to temp, all my files, and store all my dramatic EXEs. In this case, go. And depending on how large they are, it might take a moment because copying files takes power.
You can see it down in there in the corner.
You could also do a move if you wanted.
I could move them. In this case, I don't mind to move. I just want to copy them and actually see them. And you can see that it copied all those individual files to this location.
That met that criteria. They're less than a gig and more than 1 meg.
Yes. So this concept of piping, this chaining of commands, is basically saying take the output object or objects from this one command and use them as the input for another command. If it allows that input of that command, it can match a property or it can match the object type, and smush it into that little round peg, round hole until it can't fit into a square peg, round hole thing, and go on.
And those of you who are coming from command shell, I hope you realize that this ForEach-Object, it's so much more intuitive than just a standard for block in.
I love for blocks. Note my sarcasm, mind you.
I mean, they work, but yeah, it was a lot more. It was a lot more work for the same yield, and a lot more work for the same yield.
Yes, so. Absolutely. I think we actually touched on that last week with an ipconfig trying to find the string for the IP address, do some string manipulation, get this cool thing, breaking down to tokens. Yeah, none of that. PowerShell, fast.
And a lot of it, you will start in your scripts. You'll start throwing these. Obviously, we're showing this in one line, but you'll start throwing these in variables and arrays, and then acting on them in your scripts. But here we're talking just about the commandlets. So
yeah, we are. Speaking of stuff, I actually think I just called out that I wanted to copy this and show you in the ISC. This is the integrated scripting environment, so this is an easier way sometimes to do your scripts, just to see it visually. In this case, with ForEach-Object, I'm going to scroll over here, and then I'm going to break that script block so you can actually see and say that same command that we did where we copied the files. In this case, I'm just going to do a dash what if to, instead of copying, just say, here's what would happen. And then
especially if you were going to use the move item.
Absolutely.
Then you definitely would want, you'd want to do a what if.
Yep.
Before you
copy item, by the way.
Fly.
Stuff is happening.
Copy item, by the way, is number 6 on our list.
Oh, copy. Oh, yeah. So Copy item. So we just got 2 birds with 1 stone. ForEach-Object and copy item. Actually, I'll just do stuff happening to show you that you can do multiple commands for these ForEach-Objects and just run up here or F5. And stuff is happening. And stuff is happening.
Would you make that a proper contraction, please? Thank you.
Stuff is happening. Proper. This is fun. Okay, so
remember that Mitch Hedberg where he said he loves when people say, "I don't understand the word can't," and he's like, "You don't understand common contractions? Your life must really be difficult."
Yes, it would be. Using the same technique though with the copy item, you can actually do the same thing for any command like remove item, or you could just pipe it. So in this case, we created all those EXEs over here. That which we create, which we can destroy. So I'm going to use the up arrow on the console here to go back to one of my old commands that we ran. We'll just do this one. Anything above. Actually, you know what? No, we're doing a new directory. So get child item ctemp all my files. We'll see all the files there. In this case, if I wanted to remove them, I could just pipe that over to remove item. And just in case you guys are wondering, I'm going to put it down here. Whoop, so you guys can see them just disappear. Magic of deletion. So it's pretty nice. It's one of those often used commandlets. I'm sure all of you have probably deleted a file at some point in your career or life. This is how you do it from PowerShell. I
love it. Adam, our main developer, Adam, one of the founders, he used the term once. Oh, the scream that can only be that of a developer who realized he didn't have a backup.
PowerShell can be your backup.
Remove item.
Or it could be the guy doing remove item.
Remove item.
Recursively and silently. So anyway, don't do that unless...
7.
Great power, great responsibility, fun. So another common thing that we see, at least I've actually used in my own personal life as well, outside of work, surprise, I use PowerShell, is when you create a lot of files and you need to go through them and batch rename them.
Okay.
Who's done that? Raise their hand. Oh, me. That's right. So in this case, I'm going to use this same directory, all my files. Let's create a bunch of files. Let's say we create 1,000 files, and let's do for each. We'll use the ForEach-Object that we just did before, and for each one of those 1 to 1,000, we're going to do a new item, another bonus commandlet, free at no extra charge. Item type, we'll do file, and name, we'll do file underscore the number .txt. Yeah. Go. Look at that. It's exciting. Oh, the thrill. So you'll see that it creates a bunch of files. Did I do that directory? Nope. See, this is a perfect example of...
you want to change the directory.
Look at that. I did all these files on my C drive. Oh no, what do? That's not where I wanted them. Fantastic. PowerShell can delete them. But before we do that, I'm going to show you how to rename them.
He's maximizing these, JJ.
Number 8. Rename item.
That's right. So this
is flowing well, but accidentally.
Oh, yeah.
Just let you know, this is half off the cuff here. So this is great.
Half off the cuff, the other half just massive praying.
Yep. So here we're going to get, for the C drive, filter for TXT files, see all those ones that we hate because we created them incorrectly and in the wrong spot, live in front of the studio audience. So in this case, I'm actually going to take these, and I'm going to pipe them over to, not remove, I want to, that's out of habit.
You're going to move them?
Yeah.
Can we finally get rid of those password text files that we've had there since, what? Oh, June.
Never. In this case, I'm going to change it.
We're secure.
I'm going to change the name of these files, in this case. So, new name for these rename objects. For name, we're going to replace, let's say, something with something else, and then the something I want to replace is file. How many E's is that? 6. And an underscore. I'm going to change that to correct file name. Go. Oh, the thrill. That did not work. What have I done? Do. What have I done? I love doing stuff live.
You want the new name of the file?
Did I get the number of E's correct? I may have added an extra E.
There's 6 E's. There's 6 E's.
There we go. I typed too many.
7.
So anyway, that's operator error here. So now we have the correct file name, as you can see by the name, correct file name. So we could also take those same ones again and get child item C, blah, blah, blah. Let's do a filter again for .txt, remove. If I could type, wow, not that.
And now we're going to move into remove AD authentication.
Go. Now they're all gone, and I cleaned up my mess that I did live. I can't stress enough. So, one fantastic. We just did, that was number 8, you said?
Correct, that's number 8.
Okay, so moving on, let's do another common one that we see, which is very easy to do in PowerShell. Not as easy in like doing a batch file, though you can just kind of play around with it. But
okay, you're talking about the path?
Test path, yes. So in PowerShell, there's a commandlet called test path.
Number 9.
Number 9, test path.
9 times.
It's like the love potion, test path, number 9. We actually want to see if the directory exists or not. And it's just test path directory. So test path, in this case, does the C temp folder exist? It does. True. It always returns a true or false, whether it's there or not. Now, the cool thing about this, when you're using it in your scripts...
Yeah, definitely. This is definitely something in a script that would really be beneficial.
I'm going to pop it over here just to show you. So if I do test path and I do that C... Let's do that last directory we had, all my files. I wanted to run that script. I needed to know if that directory existed because I was going to create all these files there. If it didn't exist and I wasn't telling it to override and do all this fancy stuff, it would blow up and say, oh, I can't find the folder, error stuff. So in this case, I could wrap this around with a if statement, if, and then this basically says if this statement is true.
Yeah, if it returns true.
Do something. In this case, the something I'm going to do is irrelevant because you can find a use for this, I'm sure. Or you can do an else statement to do the opposite. So,
and is there you know, for those of you who come from the command shell, the CMD, is there an equivalent if not? So you're saying that the if does it an if true, but what if you're saying I only want to know if this doesn't exist and then I'll carry this out?
I don't know, because I always use for loops for all this stuff, but I did batch processing like this, like even these operationals. So.
Yeah, can you negate it? Is that
basically, yeah.
Probably. You can in PowerShell.
I mean, you could say you know, if it's false, but in command shell there's a shortcut for just not.
Right.
That way you don't have to check for the false.
You can put a dash not in there and it will do the opposite, but I'm not 100% on that.
In batch?
Oh no, in batch I thought I was.
No, we're talking about in PowerShell. In batch it's just if not.
Yeah.
If not
so
exists.
PowerShell is really easy. So in this case, this right now as it stands, if does this path, or excuse me, let's do it this way. This path exists. No existy.
So in this one, you could just obviously throw the logic if you didn't want it to exist in the under the else.
Correct. So I would say I wanted to create the directory in this case because it doesn't exist. But if you just wanted a shorter command, you could wrap this around. I think this is what kind of Jordan was getting at. So you could actually just do this. You could either use the exclamation mark, which is the shorthand for not, but you can actually just do dash not. So if not test path, that's kind of reverse way of saying if the path does not exist, do this. And then here's where you could do stuff like create the directory. It's misspelled create and direct, so I'm just going to leave it that way. Create the direct.
It's French.
It is. It's French for create the directory, in fact. I'm going to leave it at that. So anyway, that's pretty exciting. So moving on, that was number 9.
Correct.
Oh yes, we're going to go above 10. I'm so happy. So at this point, you might be having all these cool ideas about moving files, renaming files, deleting files, copying files, all the stuff. You know, you could do listing directories.
I wouldn't say they're cool, Gary.
Oh, well, you might have applications for them in your environment. Well, what if I want to run these on multiple machines? Well, cool thing is with PDQ deploy, you can actually just pop them in as a PowerShell step easily. This is the easy, quick, and dirty way that we prefer because they're managed packages. And so you can do stuff like, oh, do my PowerShell stuff.
And this is a way to get around the remoting.
Yeah.
Because you can, this obviously you're deploying this to a bunch of targets.
Yes.
When it's executed as though it's executed locally. So you don't, there's no having to connect in your script to a computer, to a remote computer, because we're doing this from deploy or you know whatever deployment tool that you have. But if you're doing this from the console, from PowerShell, that's where remoting would come in.
Yes.
You'd want to say you have to specify the computer name.
Yes. And so for those of you who enjoy that and have these complicated scripts and stuff that for some reason you either can't or don't want to manage inside PDQ deploy, that is where you do enable PS remoting to enable the PowerShell remoting, enabling when RM to run on that machine. And that just enables this machine to accept those incoming requests. So running it here is not going to matter. This is kind of a throw-in because you only run this once on a machine because you don't need to re-enable it. PS remoting force, and that will basically say this machine can now be remoted into, like that.
This is important if you're using PDQ inventory and you use tools, not remote command, but tools to that encapsulate PowerShell. Chances are you're going to need to enable remoting because unlike remote commands and inventory, the tools will run from the console machine or from the server if you're running in central server and connect out. That's why you will need to have.
Yep. Once it's enabled though, we have this, and you can do the stuff on the other machines, like Fry. I don't know, we did something with Fry a few weeks ago, so I don't know if this is going to work. We're going to find out. There's a really cool command that I want to talk about called enter PS session.
Number 10.
Yay! Enter PS session. This allows you to use an interactive console remotely on a machine. So in this case, let's do Fry. We'll see what happens. No! Fry was messed up, so that's fun. He may or may not have it enabled, and this account we actually are running as
Well, we're running as
Quintana. Quintana might
It's
not have it, so I actually might not be able to show this. That's fantastic. Good prep on my part.
We planned.
I planned. Let's try a different one. Let's try D7 JorLab.
We're going to screw with your computers, Jordan.
Because I think Quintana.
Yes,
Yes,
Chris's
Quintana
favorite
does.
target.
I use Jordan's machines, the JorLabs, mostly because it's really fun to say JorLab. But as you can see, it actually worked. So if you notice here, on the side here, I'm actually going to make that smaller. You can see that it changed to show the name of the machine that I'm currently in session with. So if I was to actually run a command and say, what is my computer name? JorLab. Whereas if I exit, the shorthand for this, I just hit tab and it's taken forever to do this. That's fine. PS session, shorthand exit. I can do that command again, and computer name, and it shows Guinness. So it's really cool.
Yeah, so when you exited, basically you exited that remote session on JorLab and you came back. This computer that we're running on is called Guinness.
Yep, and we'll see that.
Because we love Corona.
Apparently. You can see here on D7 JorLab that there is no temp directory as we had before, so you can see that it actually is browsing a different machine. That's fantastic for one-offs, but what if you need to do this for multiple machines? There's this wonderful command called invoke command that I really wanted to get to today, so I'm really glad we did. This is number 11. Ooh.
You know what? Let's.
Yeah, we want to take a question.
Yeah, so I don't know if we're going to get to 11.
Okay.
We haven't taken a single question this entire show.
Take that.
And we have a question from the fabulous Mary M. Dear Chris, Shane, and Jordan. Maybe this is a bit of a general question, but if things in PowerShell just don't stick in my brain, what's the best way to remember the basics?
Get command and get help.
Also get member. Because those. But really, that's what it is, and repetition. Using it is you're going to keep it. In addition to that, one common thing to remember while looking at the different wide array of available commandlets out there is if you use a particular commandlet that is one set of verb-noun setup, and I'll talk about this in a sec, use the appropriate one to match it. So for example, there's a command import CSV to import CSV files. Don't then use another commandlet to export it to data. Use the export CSV. Import, export. Remember that. Get, set. There's get content, there's set content.
How would you find everything that you could do for get CSV? Anything with a CSV?
Anything with CSV, we're going to do get command, star CSV star. All the commandlets that include the word CSV in it are right there. So the specific ones I'm talking about right here are the import export CSVs, or even the converts. Right.
You could lose the star. You could lose the star there at the end.
I'm sure.
Because so many since it's what you're doing to an object,
CSV is
verb
the
noun, then CSV. Yeah, as JJ said, CSV is a noun. You could lose that splat at the end.
So, but just that's one of the things I would recommend is to actually just keep in mind appropriate related commandlets. And then just use it. Find something and do it.
Best thing to do instead of trying to commit it to memory, Mary, is just start writing a few things, and you will notice that things will start to stick.
Yeah, one of our employees here, I love what he did with this. Chris, he wrote a countdown to Christmas this year in ticks of the machine, of the processor. So you just saw this wildly crazy large number going as it's counting down to Christmas.
Chris, by the way, isn't talking about himself.
Yeah.
We call
no.
we call the other Chris C. Chris here.
Yes, other Chris.
We finally had to stop K. Chris from speaking of himself in the third person because that is in fact a sign of megalomania.
Unfortunately.
The megalomania still exists, but at least the tells are fewer and fewer.
So,
hey, Chris, thank you very much. Jordan, thank you very much for trying hard, racking your brains to bring this down to 10-ish, the 10 commandlets. But if you have any questions, by all means, hit up our support site at pdq.com, and you can always post your PowerShell questions, and we have a slew of PowerShell folk here who'd be happy to jump on your question.
yep.
All right.
Thanks for watching.
So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Rock on.
Turn it up to 11.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Congratulations, Mary M., winner of our PowerShell t-shirts. You can send us your info at webcast@pdq.com. Our next PowerShell webcast will be on September 5th. Yeah, a couple of weeks away. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you back here on September 5th.